Like Coach Manchester said before, I played my football at Georgia Southern. Afterward, had a Powerade or two in CFL. Happy to say that. But today we're going to cover defensive line fronts and movements. Our 3-5-3, this is the first time when I first came up to Georgia Military that I was a part of a 3-5 defense. The only time we had 3 down linemen was our money package at Southern. And by that time, they took me off because they wanted better pass rushers in. So to make this our base, it was kind of different for me. So it was a learning process for me, especially the first year I was there. But I was fortunate to have a couple of guys. One guy went to NC State, another guy went to Southern, another guy went to App State. So that's a pretty good talent to work with. And it's a learning process for me every day. And I have a great coordinator, Rob Manchester, and Coach Lunsford helps me out big time too. So just reiterating what Coach Manchester said, if you guys have any questions whatsoever, raise your hand, stop me, and I'll try to answer the best I can. Disregard that, by the way, typo. Our base front is our 3-5 alignment. Okay, we have 3-3 stack. Out of our base, our strong end will be at a 4. Our nose guard will play a 0, tracks on tracks, and our other end will play at a 4. Our linebackers will be stacked behind them at 40s, a 10 and a 40, at about 4.5 to 5 yard depth. And it changes from week to week based on the personnel that we're playing. And up front for me, usually my best defensive end is the left end. Our nose guard, I try to make these guys as they can play in any position, in any situation. I prefer to keep the leaner guys outside, but I actually don't mind having a thicker kind of defensive end playing out here, especially versus run-oriented teams. These guys, again, are interchangeable. Our 4-0-4, that's really basically it for us up front. That's our base. At about 690 plays last year, we ran this about 85% of the time. We're going to cover all of our different fronts that we do at Georgia Military. But this is our home base. This is what we do, and it works pretty well for us. Okay. Okay. You can see right here is just our basic base. We have a 4, a 0, and a 4 with the linebackers stacked.
What kind of stance they have?
I like to have my guys in the most comfortable position. You can see on film sometimes that some guys are more comfortable when they're slanting inside to have their right hand down. If they're slanting outside, they're going to have their outside hand down. I just want them to be in the most comfortable position. Playing a 4-3, our inside hand close to the center was always the one down. Easier for us to engage and defeat blocks that way. With our defense here, man, you're going to see that all we try to do is get penetration up front and attack on the run. We're going to attack blocks, and we'll get into this later, but we want them to be as comfortable as possible. So you'll see guys in the left-handed stance going outside, and some guys can't get in it. It takes them a while to get it, and they just don't want to get over that hump. That's what spring football's for. And you'll see their stance change up a little bit too. We'll talk about this afterward. But if their left hand is down and they're a right-handed guy, if their right hand is down and they're going outside, they're going to square up their feet a little bit. We'll get in all the stance and start stuff afterward. But to answer your question, whatever's most comfortable for them. You can see right here, we're head-up alignment, 4-0-4. And for this, and we've been talking about it back and forth about should we have our guys at 5s or 4s. We've been using a 4-0-4 since because we slant every play. Just, I guess, try to disguise a little more. And we have had guys that have to get an outside shade sometimes to be able to get outside versus reach blocks, or, the zone and stretch, everything like that. And personnel-wise too, we line up in our base versus 10 personnel. We've also done it in 2 tight end packages. We try to adapt to every type. With those type of offenses, though, we'll try to walk the dogs down a little bit and play them a little tighter. But for a 10 personnel team, we'll also line up in just 4-0-4. Just tracks on tracks. Here you are versus two tights.
D-line one-gap players?
Sir?
Are they one-gap players?
Yes, sir. We'll get into it, but our slant and our whip packages, whenever our blitz, our certain blitzes have certain type of angles that we're going to take, either slant to the strength or a whip to the weak side. We also have strong and weak. We're an attack style, gap-oriented defense, so yeah, we're just going to one gap most of the time. Now, I say that, but our defensive ends, when they have to play versus a tight end, you'll see right here. When they play versus a tight end, it's a pretty hard block for them. If we're going outside in our C gap versus the run, we have to be C gap players. Okay, but what we see a lot of times is a max protect, where the tight end's going to stay in and block. From then, we just have to be able to recognize that that tight end isn't trying to really run block us, but he's going to be set in a pass protection, trying to seal the edge on us. And that's where we have to get outside the tight end to keep contained. That's where we're C-gap players. That's one of the harder blocks that defensive ends have to defeat. Another good thing about our base package too, versus tight end trade, not allowed to have. We don't have to shift back and forth and make different calls and get the kids confused a little bit, because you know we do have kids that are 18, 17, 19 years old, and they are junior college kids. So the simpler we can have it, the better. Okay, we also have a solid under front. We will bring four men, one of our bat linebackers down on the tight end. Our solid, a lot of people call it over. You're going to have your strong end at a 3 technique, your nose at a weak shade, your weak end at a 5, your strong bat at a 9, your mic at a 20, and your other bat at a 20, covering up the guards. This year we kind of got away a little bit from the solid under package. We ran a little more of our heads package and tough, which we'll come into next. But what we put this in was based on the team that we played against. Also just a change up. It's one more thing that the offense has to worry about when they see us line up in a 4-man front, a solid under package. And Coach Luntz will cover it more, but what we've tried to do is have the same blitzes in our base package for our solid and under, our heads, and our tough, all of our different packages, just so it's easier. We're going to have to take away some. We're going to have to maybe add a couple different blitzes. Coach Luntz will cover all that kind of stuff. But this is just a good change-up for us. A good change-up for us.
Who's playing C-gap, your dog? He's lining outside the tight end?
Yeah, he'll be right around here, and he'll be playing a C-gap also with this bat. Now we do have this bat having a pinching sometimes. In that case, he'll be a C-gap player. But yeah, that dog is always there for run support. You can see right here, some of our shots don't have end zone shots, so I'll try my best to tell you guys beforehand. But you see right here, this is against a full look when we play at Gulf Coast. We have a 5 shade, a 3, and our stand-up bat. We try to have the same principles as we do in our base. Again, we're not going to sit and solid and under and just play football. We tried to do that a little bit last year, but as a coach and standpoint, and it's kind of unfair to the kids too, where you can't work on it as much as you'd like. So we try to keep everything evened up with our base and our solid and our under and all of our other fronts. You can see our bat right here getting great penetration, keep us outside free. You know, one thing, no matter what type of defense you have, when you get great penetration by your nose guard, that definitely helps you out a little bit. We'll have an end zone shot here. See here we have our 5. I don't play our guys tight, again, because we're not reading blocks. We're not engaging them at the line of scrimmage, asking them to squeeze and defeat the reach, all that kind of stuff. So we're going to play them a little loose. Nose guard wanted to play a little tight. That was his better thing, especially when he's trying to cross face. You know, you got to adapt to the personnel you got on defense. If you have a guy that's kind of slow, you're going to have to want to tighten him up if he has to cross face. If he's pretty quick, bump him out a little bit, play a little loose. Okay, under. Just complementary to our solid look is under, where we're going to have a 5, strong shade, and a 3 and a 5 on the backside. Okay? Our bat, and then we have a 10 for our mic, and we'll have a 50 for our strong bat. Again, this was just a great change up for us up front. You'll see in the clips towards the end of the year, we kind of got away from solid and under and stuck most to our heads package, what we'll cover next. And again, we're always going to ask our guys to move. If it's a whip call, we're going to be all slant to the weak side. If it's a slant call, we're going to be slant to the strong side. And our strong and weak blitzes, which we'll get into a little bit later, it's the same principles. We're going to jack step out up front here, just attacking our outside gap. So we'll be a B gap player, C gap player, and our nose will go opposite of the strength call. We're going to cover that later. Arkansas bat that's lined up with a lot of double tight end stuff, and this is where we probably used most of our solid and under look. You know, one thing that helps us out with our defense is all the movement we have up front and the blitzing that comes from the linebackers. A lot of teams are running a lot of type of zone or stretch nowadays, and if it helps our defensive linemen out, not having to really learn too much about how to read and block, get your hands on it. You know, that's the way I grew up playing, defeating blocks, but it helps our guys out tremendously because we're forced to have the athletes. But I know a lot of high school guys that don't get to recruit run this type of defense, and it works just the same with them. It works just the same with them. It's just a way to kind of show off their athletic ability on defense. Let them pin their ears back a little bit and just go play. Here's a little look right here. 5, shade, 3, and our stand-up linebackers at 5. Here's a little closer look. Just kind of defensive line here. Again, a 3, shade, 5. Markeith Wiley, this was from 07. He was a pretty good nose guard, able to cross face a lot and just take up a lot of people in the interior.
Is that a call
This is one of our calls. This looks like Mike Week. Maybe someone's blitzing outside. That's Hurricane. And we'll get into here shortly. Our heads front. This is what we kind of got more into towards the later half of the year. It worked out well for us. We were able to put in a couple different blitzes that Coach Luntz was going to cover, but it worked out well for us. It kind of married up a little. It married up better with our base front because again we're playing head up technique up front. Our bat was lined up at a 9. Our end, okay, our strong side end, we're bumped down to a 2 technique. Our nose would now bump out to a weak 2, and our end would bump out to a 6. There'd be times where we lined them up at a 9. We just made adjustments, whether it be during the game or going into that week. It was a pretty flexible position. We never play them at a 7. We're always head up to outside. But our base out of heads right here, we're always at a 6. Now, with no tight end, we'd bump him down to a 5. Same on the other end. We'd bump him down to a 5. A great thing about this front two, in my opinion, was that we were able to line up in this in 10 personnel or 2 tight end set. It worked out great for us either way. We had a great pressure coming up out of this, actually out of our heads front. And our linebackers are stacked behind the nose and the end. Our dogs would be bumping in according to what we had in the backfield. We'd be bumping a little bit tighter, help out and cut back, and help on that C gap. Okay? Here's heads look. There's empty. You can see right here, we have 2 down linemen